Next game we're talking about is Team Buddies, which was nominated by @Wordito on Twitter. Thanks again, Wordito. Nominated some good games. It was developed by Signosis Camden and published by, in Europe, I think it was published by Sony Computer Entertainment.
And Midway in North America.
And Midway in North America.
Wow, that's a weird.
That's a weird license.
Never
heard.
Sony
was like, so it's so weird that Sony would be like, well, we'll publish it in like Britain and Australia, but when it goes to the America, forget it. They can deal with it themselves. Like,
apparently, this game is supposed to be really rare for some reason.
It regularly sells for about, like, I guess you'd say like $70, $80 at the moment. That's the kind of price, which is a bit pricey for a PlayStation 1 game. I don't think the US release was even as wide as the PAL release. I think that's more common.
Probably not.
PAL release comes in a thin case. I have it right here, actually. I actually got this game.
And that would be its very first release, which was on, you guessed it, September 15th.
Hey, he's right. I'm looking up the Wikipedia right now.
Although in Team Buddy's case, that may have been a mistake, since I think nobody cared about this game, like, at all. It got, like, I think it got, like, 8s, 9s, 10 out of 10s from, you know, the various magazines, and people were like, cool, and then everyone forgot about it.
I'm just pointing it out now. Like, okay, so episodes, this is episode 18. Episodes 17 and 18, all September releases. Also, I think at least one of the games from maybe, a lot of September releases in the PlayStation era.
That makes perfect sense. That's when everyone wanted to get their games out.
Who wants to talk about this game? Because I've got nothing to say.
I'll let Cal go for it first, and I'll chime in when appropriate.
Okay, well, I mean, Team Buddies is kind of like the Herzog Zwei again. You know, they took this concept.
Bless you.
It's a good way of... Boo, Zergs.
I'd call it a very streamlined RTS.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you took maybe sort of Cannon Fodder or that sort of game. You know, you've also got something like Darwinia, the introversion game. You know, this kind of like low level. You control characters, but it's also an RTS, and it's a very curious one because you play as up to 4 characters, and there's a point in the map, sometimes several, where crates fall from the sky. You pick up a crate. This all happens in kind of like an ISO, like sort of pulled out view. You take the crate back to your base, and then you put it on a little build square. I have to explain all this because it's a weird kind of game. And then the amount of crates and the sort of shape that you build with those crates in a 2x2 block that goes 2, 2, 2, like in like all directions. You can build the level's weapons, which is, you know, like basic things like guns, but also weird stuff like freeze rays and cluster grenades and just some crazy stuff.
And entire vehicles like tanks and planes if you put together.
Yeah, depending on the weapon, it'll be tanks, planes, UFOs, lots of stuff, like crazy amounts of stuff. And also you can build extra buddies, which are your teammates. And they are controlled by the AI, not by you. You can only use one at once, and you can give them orders like attack that guy or attack a base or just go cause mischief. It has a few like overall AI things. And the goal is
you can switch to one of your buddies. You want to take control of them.
Yeah, at any time.
Control one at a time.
And you can do things like you can go to your opponent's base and mess up their stuff by stealing their crates. You can blow up their base so they can't build things anymore. And the goal is, in a general sense, it's like blow up bases and like I think kill the most buddies usually in the standard game mode. But there's some other game modes that you can do.
They try to vary the objectives in the single player campaign a good bit, like get this vehicle and bring it back to the base, like hit all the points where the enemies can reset them.
And some weird stuff like you've got like go to these different points and pick garbage cans up, and some really like curious, like very single playery stuff that, because the AI not great, kind of.
Especially, that's like my biggest issue with the game, especially friendly AI. Like sometimes you'll try to build some like a gun, and they'll just like walk up and just take it before you can actually grab it. Even if they already have a gun.
It's very important to kind of micromanage them, otherwise they will really mess you up.
Micromanagement. Arg. That's the trigger word for me when it comes to video games. I'm already having enough trouble trying not to get my ass killed. You want me to babysit these losers?
But I mean, generally the way I would play back when I played this game quite a bit, you know, you kind of like, you get what you want, and then you just say, okay, AI, do whatever you want. I'm just going to go and blow up bases and stuff. Like that's what I'm gonna do. And there's also power-up crates, which are blue, and they give you an enhanced version of the weapon or buddy that you're building. And there's a lot of buddies that have all these like extra traits. Like one can fly and shoot lasers. One is not able to be lit on fire and can't be moved by explosions, and he looks like the Terminator. There's lots of that sort of British comedy humor that you sort of find in Psygnosis games.
This was a really weird thing to me to think, but why was I getting the impression this game was like a British version of South Park? South Park for some reason. Like that might not be the right thing to compare it to.
It does have like a strange like profaneness to it. Like the buddies actually, and this was I guess kind of like a thing that was kind of like, whoa, it's kind of naughty because they'll say things like they literally say like I fuck your mom or something. Like they actually say that like in.
I have never heard that line.
I don't think I got that far either.
I've heard.
It gets bleeped out. They censor the swears, but yeah, there's lots of like.
I know that the medics are giant gay stereotypes, which also isn't very cool, but.
Yeah, some of the characters because there's
a reason why this game didn't get more distribution.
No, it's a late release PlayStation game, so no one cared. Like 2000 on the PlayStation, late 2000 on the PlayStation, nobody cared at this point. But there's like 6 or 7, maybe 8 different voice sets. Like each team buddy color has its own voice. So there's a lot of different recorded dialogue that you get. And I think you mostly get that if you play multiplayer because you can choose your color. But I think you play through most of the different colors. If you
some of them aren't racist.
So, yeah, some of them are just British, but that I guess is anyway.
I always got like the weird Brooklyn accident, guys.
Well, I think that might be the starting.
Which color is the super racist Japanese accent English type voice?
I believe there is one. I think is it?
I think it's purple. I think it's purple.
Is it purple? Because yeah, there is a set of stages that are essentially that sort of Asiaville. Like that's what it is. I'm not trying to be racist here. It's like
I gotcha.
Just it's because you got samurai buddies and ninja buddies. Sorry, and they have stereotypical accents. It's like it's an offensive little like British game when they could just barely release that and everyone just kind of, and by everyone I mean the gamers at the time were like this is really rude and funny.
All I can think of here is that this game actually beat Conker's Bad Fur Day to the punch as far as ultra offensive British games are concerned. Like,
the difference is you kind of have to dig for it in Team Buddies. It's not like it has an M rating. You actually have to like play the game to see everything that might offend you.
See, the thing is, like,
a lot less subtle about it.
This game is one of those games that it doesn't really have a target. It's just kind of like a whole bunch of like offensive, like racist stereotypes and
it's like. It's like Punch Out type racist stereotypes. It's not. It's all in good fun. It just
they make fun of the British as well. Like they make fun of themselves, and that's important. Like. What happens is because the game it's actually really important to the game in terms of flavor in that as the game happens, when buddies start hitting each other, they all just start cussing each other out in like with all their little insults. So there's just a constant stream of just like abusive like messages being thrown around verbally to like each other. So it's kind of like just a fun little experience. And also the graphics are like bright and colorful and very kiddie. So it does have that sort of a bit like Conker in that it has like that, this looks like a kid's. It's not. It is not for children.
Yeah, I really do feel that the aesthetics are probably the best part about it because it's relatively simple and in a way a little bit cutesy and it doesn't really do a lot of fancy, but it does also like, I don't know, it is oddly distinctive for how every character looks like a pill robot of some sort, like. And just the various environments and maps they have, I think, do have very interesting design to them. But I'm going to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan exactly of how it played. Maybe I'm just not...
Yeah.
Real-time strategy games are like poison to me. I don't know if I'm just a dummy babby, but even the really simple ones like this, I just do so poorly at, and I really couldn't get very far in this game. And I don't know if that's because I'm just inherently bad at that sort of genre, or if it's because Psygnosis is Psygnosis.
Yeah,
cruel.
Right.
it's time to get to the elephant in the room here. This is a British game, and to narrow it further, it's a Psygnosis game, and that means it's going to make you fail, and it's going to make you hate it again and again and again.
But it does look and sound really nice.
It does, yeah.
Psygnosis game.
I think Psygnosis should have just been an art production company because they looked brilliant, but their game development skills were. I want to say the most legitimate game they've ever made was Colony Wars. Even then, that one was really tough, but it at least felt like you had an idea of what you were doing.
I would say with Team Buddies and a lot of their PlayStation games, they kind of. They got like a little bit more under control in terms of at least when their games were kind of hard, they were also interesting. And I think this one is very interesting. This game, there's nothing like this. It's a very strange RTS sort of like, because you got a lock-on button that lets you lock on to buddies to shoot them kind of easier. And it's got like this really weird like tactics sort of thing, but it's also like a kind of shooter action game. You jump around and it's a hot mess. That's what it is. It's so, like I don't.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know is this game, is Team Buddies, do you guys consider it like a game that is a dead end, or is it a promising exploration of the RTS genre that could have been done better?
I feel like you could probably bring this game back, put it in a franchise, put some MOBA elements in there.
How would you do it? What would you fix it? How would you fix it? That's what I'd want to know.
I mean, the first and easiest way to fix it would be to have because the game doesn't care about balance. Not even a little bit. This is from that time period where lots of RTS games of this like vague type were just, we don't care about balance. Is the game fun? I guess. Okay, get it out there because, there are weapons that are not balanced. Some of the vehicles are useless. Some of the buddies are useless. And it just kind of comes up as like this like mess. You can go blow up bases and the AI doesn't respond very well to you killing them in lots of cases.
It really feels like in this game you have to just you can't be fancy. You just have to just get your buddies, get the best weapons, just go for it.
And that
you don't
usually
want to bother
works.
with anything else.
And the thing, I guess, is this game is one of those games, and maybe because it's Psygnosis as well, it feels like you're breaking it to win, but the game is like, nah, it's cool, you should do that. Like, you should just break it, and then you'll be fine. I would love to have this game fine-tuned a bit with online multiplayer. That would be awesome.
That would
really
definitely
great.
Get behind, yeah.
But you're not going to see that anytime soon. I do want to say there is a cool game type where instead of fighting, you have unlimited respawns, and it's like a football game, and you actually have like a bomb that you have to throw around the field, and it just explodes. It's really like cool little thing that they included.
Wait, which game is this?
Yeah. It's an unlockable multiplayer mode, and the multiplayer does have bots, so you can play it by yourself, and it's 4-player. If you grab a multi-tap, you can play 4-player split screen on this one.
I feel like this is the kind of game that you could have somebody just basically take the concept of some indie developer put on Steam, and you'd probably do okay.
Yeah. As long as you advertised it right, it would probably work really well. And this game does commit one other really, really frustrating sin. It's very common for games of this time, but the multiplayer content is locked behind single-player gates.
Ooh,
and I mean, it's a Psygnosis game, and you have to literally, and I did this back in the day, you have to finish the game all the way through and basically gold star, proper perfect every level in order to lock the multiplayer content.
This doesn't make me
awful.
And you don't want to play the single-player mode for the story, because the ending is 10 seconds of Buddy just walking up on screen telling you to piss off.
Because they
not those exact words.
Jesus Christ.
But, I will say back in the day I enjoyed it, in terms of the single player, there was a lot there. I did find a speedrun online recently where someone finishes the game in an hour and 50 minutes. So you can do that if you're...
That's always a good sign. Yeah.
There's a lot of missions in this.
But yeah, they didn't gold star anything. And there is you can finish levels, and then there's bonus challenges in each level to complete to get gold stars.
You can finish it, have a little bit of fun, or you could gold star it and have no fun at all.
Just suffer through it. On the upside, today you could download. I'm almost certain you could download a complete finished thing, so that would be fine.
I was about to say, if there was any game that demanded an online save file, this is it. I have never heard of a game suffering for having a focus on single player before, because usually some games I've encountered, usually this is after the PS1 era, but some games campaigns were kind of bogged down because they were trying to push some crap-ass multiplayer mode that didn't really fit.
So
I just find it ironic this is the reverse. Yes, Xerxes, what?
To rank it, I would put it below Clash of Demon Head.
Whoa.
I wouldn't put it that low, but as I said,
That's not that low.
Well, no, I mean, I'm gonna say, I've alluded to it, and it's pretty obvious. I am one of the half a dozen people that is a legit fanboy of this game because I played it when it was new.
We've all seen your tattoos.
I know, and I regret that I got the entire buddy cast on my back, but that's that's my.
You shouldn't have had him so close to your ass. Just have some dignity, a little bit further up on your back.
That was the joke. They're pointing down there, man. It's good.
I do think this game does kind of hit the Donkey Kong Country 3 zone.
I do think that this is at least a mid-range game, because even if I'm not the biggest fan of it, it was rated quite well for its time, and I do like the concept of it, just not really the pacing was so chaotic for me.
Here's my thinking. Below Marvel Land, because I don't remember what Marvel Land's about, and below, I keep watching footage of that game and trying to remember.
How about between NFL Blitz and Clash of Demon Head?
Right above Clash of Demon Head.
Right.
Okay. All right.
I mean, look.
Me and Bob and Nate are on the same page yet again.
My general opinion on this one is it's, as I said, this is a game that would benefit so much from someone just taking a second crack at it and just going, "Yep, we're gonna make this game shine." As it stands,
how I feel about NFL Blitz.
Yeah,
I have no idea how you feel.
What was wrong with NFL Blitz again? I thought it was a really good game.
Yeah, we thought we felt like the original NFL Blitz, which is the one we were asked to rank, had some problems that I think it was with the passing system. Whereas there was it was a very solid game that had one mechanical aspect to it that was not very well realized. They fixed later, but we weren't asked to rank those later games. Whereas with this game, there is only one Team Buddies.
That's, I think that's also there is only one Team Buddies. And this game is a perfect example of that sort of PlayStation 1, we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to try something era. It reminds me of your beloved Bushido Blade in that regard, where they're okay, well, RTSs are cool, but we can't make one of the PlayStation.
Less to publish this than it does to throw it in the garbage, so let's put it out there.
Well, it's you can't make a proper RTS on a PlayStation. I know they released Command & Conquer on it. That was a bad idea. But
it was.
They stepped up and they went, okay, but let's make an RTS-ish game that works on a console. And they got very close, and you can see it. You can see the game, and you go, this game...
If I had to compare this...
StarCraft 64, you're dissing that?
If I had to compare this to any other game, I'd compare it to the Worms, only not nearly as polished.
No, not even close.
It's a different in a few specific ways.
If you think this game that Team Buddies is better than,
I said it's not nearly as polished as Worms.
I would say at best you could put it above Donkey Kong Country 3 and below Pulse Man. At best you could put it below Donkey Kong Country 3, above Marvel Land.
I would be more comfortable with that placement.
But I'm saying that WWF No Mercy is way more fun and crazy and
you don't think Team Buddies is crazy? Team Buddies is crazy.
Well,
I think Team Buddies is actually too crazy, honestly. I think the
you could say it's too crazy
works against it, but that's just what I feel.
This game has a lot of stuff. And it's they packed a lot of content and a lot of ideas into it. I prefer it to a wrestling game because I don't like wrestling games, but I don't like
wrestling either. I hate wrestling, but the game is just bonkers. There will never be another game like that.
There probably won't be another Team Buddies either, though.
For me, No Mercy super unapproachable, and Team Buddies is a little bit easier than that. So
Team Buddies actually tries really hard to be approachable.
I'm going to be honest. I agree with Bob on that. I would place this above No Mercy, to be frank.
Forward on the control pad is a low grapple. Forward on the control pad plus B is a no. I see what you guys are saying.
If you wanted me to start dropping wrestling terminology just to annoy you, I'll gladly do that. But
no, let's not. I will put. Please just don't.
That Emerald Flosion ended in a schmoz match, and
Look, I am about to faint.
We should have to fade out when Satanga says that.
I can. There's a weird thing. It's only been documented when somebody's talking about pro wrestling, but I can rage faint. It's a weird combination of boredom and fury. I don't know how to explain it.
But what you're saying is we are actually going to put Team Buddies above it. We're going to, maybe it a little higher.
Yeah. I mean, I do like what the game does, even if it doesn't do it nearly as well as it could. But no, Cal sold me on this. It's a really crazy balls-out concept, and we have really not seen any game at all like this since then.
Just keep in mind, Cal has kind of a bias. He is trying to justify those back tattoos.
Well,
I will say, the hardest part about this game is finding 3 other people who are any good at it to play multiplayer. That is really hard to do.
That is a big problem.
No, you're right. Now, I'm only going to call Bios and Cal when we start discussing Shaq Fu. Otherwise, I'm going to trust his judgment here. Between Marvel Land and No Mercy, was that what we went for?
I believe Marvel Land had inexplicably remained, up there. Because
Marvel Land has coasted on its... everybody's afraid to say, well, it's better than Marvel Land.
See, this is why I thought we need to revisit some of these.
No. It's right because it's right.
It's
No, wait, we can go back. It's Donkey Kong Country 3 that we don't remember anything about. Marvel Land is back in GC9X35, so technically if we weren't completely lazy, we could just go back and listen to our own show and figure out why we ranked it the way we did.
No, who would do that?
Oh no, own show?
That was back when we were ranking games as we were watching one of us play the game, which was an interesting idea that we don't do anymore. But that was, I think I recall us being kind of impressed by all the things that you could do in the game that we weren't expecting, and so that's the most I remember about it. As long as we can stop talking about Team Buddies, I will put it.
You put it wherever
below
you want.
Marvel Land, above WWF No Mercy, even though WWF No Mercy is remembered by people, and Team Buddies is a game I had to look up to make sure it was real. So,
I mean, you got to stop contradicting yourself, man. When you're like,
Objection.
We got to rank games that are obscure or higher, and then it's like, no one's heard of this, so rank it low.
Hey, you're
Come
right.
on.
When we discussed this last episode, you were actually making that case for Metal Gear Solid versus Lode Runner.
If we're acknowledging Team Buddies at all, we are giving it credit that does not exist anywhere else.
Okay.
Like the fact that we're even saying Team Buddies exists and you can play it is a big boost to Team. That is a huge advertisement.
I mean, Team Buddies, that's what I like about it. You hear it, you're like, what? They made what?
Team Buddies.
Like, there you go, guys.
It's not quite a RTS, and it's not quite a... to answer your question, I don't know.
Dad, what's a Muppet?
But they're also really, really abusive. I mean, this is key to the whole thing, is they, swear, and they're all racist caricatures.
Right, which is problematic. Let's... okay, so are we agreed, though? Is that sound fair?
Let's do it.